Yo, what is up, bros? We are here with the final video of the final rankings for our generals. Going to be covering 5 through number 1, the most badass general of them all. When we left off, there was some discussion. I thought my picks I made might stir up some things. They did a little bit. Some people thought Chernikovsky shouldn't have lost those spots. Other people thought Bach should have been ahead of Osborne. I think other than that, like Rommel, Vidman, Tobokin was accepted. It was more these two bros. Anyways, we are at number 5. And now that we are at the top 5, we can include more battles. Most of them have a 3rd battle. Some of them even have a 4th battle. That would be Manstein and Patton. Anyways, with that, the 5th ranked general. And hey, to be 5th in this group of generals is still a pretty big achievement. That achievement goes to our bro Osborne. Now, some of you said this 5th spot should have went to Bach. I respect that. It's fine. But I did go with Osborne. I mean, he does give that little bit of help with supplies as long as you do keep him in your own territory. He also has this battlefield intuition that I said... I made the point that with the level 12 elite units now, this is going to be a lot more helpful than prior to the 12s. Like 9s didn't really matter that much. 12s, it starts to matter a little bit more. Obviously, Panzer Leader, Armored Assault, and the big one, Leader, damage dealt of command units against land units, plus 30% when capturing an enemy city, grant commendations to friendly units within 3 hexes, and yourself increasing the attack of the units by 15%. Lasts for 3 rounds. That's pretty good. I mean, the reach and the duration are very good on Osborne. And of course, you know, when we're looking at the damage, obviously, there was a trade-off, you know, between Bach and Osborne. We're looking at the first battles, you know, Osborne came up ahead. If we're looking at the second battle, we've got a Bach ahead. But look, I've been pointed this out. This is very reliable damage output by Osborne. 13.5, almost 6, and 13.5. I still think, even with the discussion in the comments, that Osborne should be slightly, ever so slightly ahead of Bach. Obviously, you guys were pissed off Chernikovsky fell so much, but he did. That's what happens when you completely suck in the Mannerheim line nightmare difficulty. And our 4th ranked general is going to be our bro Abrams. So, bro has a break the encirclement after annihilating enemy troops. 100% rate to lower the morale of 2 enemies within 1 grid of you. Absolute S tier perk right here. I mean, you could really hunt out some generals with some crapper units around them and then just make all the generals go stupid. He does... His greatest perk is also his Achilles heel. Anticipation: when commanding troops to move, damage dealt plus 10% up to 50% for each grid moved for 1 turn. We'll get back to that. Rounding him out with Panzer Leader, Armored Assault, and some survivability with Blitzkrieg. So, S tier perk. You can see his damage output, especially his second battle. It's almost a 17. That moves him into that Patton range. Look, if you can always get him to move 5 spots, he could out damage anybody. But you can see the other 2 he has. His first battle was 14.5, almost 6. His 3rd was 14.3. So obviously doing more damage than the bros before him. The problem is, and this is the Achilles heel, when actually using him in conquest, in missions, you don't always get those 5 movements, and in fact, I would say you would average more like 3. There's a lot of times that I don't even place him down because the quarters are so tight that I would rather have Garion there who can go right to work without having to move. So that is why, even with this good perk, and even though he can lead straight damage, you're not always going to be able to get him to move 5 spots. There's going to be times you don't even put him down because you know the general you're putting down is not going to be able to move 5 spots. So you might as well not even place him down. For that reason, he comes in 4th. That leads us to our 3rd ranked general. And that bro is going to be our bro Garion. I look. His critical attack, the medals, his title, his ribbons can be 100%. That's a beautiful thing when commanding elite force. Armored units attack plus 12, deal a critical attack rate plus 10. He's got armored assault, got Panzer leader, got some survivability with blitzkrieg, got inspiration, got inferior victory. Very, very stable damage output. He's not all over the place like you see some of these generals. Look at his damage. They're all right at 15. All 3 attacks right at 15. It's kind of like Osborne in that sense. I mean, just a specific number he's hitting. Very solid, very dependable damage outputter. But I gotta be honest, when I'm thinking about putting down some main generals, I want the most damage output. I want to absolutely melt generals. There's 2 bros that I think of before I think of placing Garion. He's usually the 3rd general I place. He's amazing. Hey, bro used to be second only to Munstein. If you didn't purchase Munstein with real money, Garion was the finest general you could get in the game. And I think it's a testament that he is still 3. After being vanilla and being 2, he's only dropped 1 spot in all this time with all these updates, added perks, ribbons, medals. Bro is still up there in 3rd spot, dealing out some major damage. That leads us to the 2nd ranked bro. It's between Patton and Munstein, and obviously whoever gets 2nd, the other gets 1st. Bros, that 2nd ranked general is going to be our boy God Patton. Yes, he did some incredible damage. He had the highest damage outputs. He was the only bro to break into the 17s. But again, it's kind of the same thing with Abrams. Let's go through his perks. Heroic Charge. When commanding armored units, for every enemy within 2x's, dealt damage plus 10%, maximum of 50% when armored units have high morale. Lower damage received by 20%. S tier perk, no doubt about it. Rival contest. When commanding armored units, dealt damage to enemy elite forces plus 20%. Panzer leader, armored assault, inspiration. Alright, so let me pull in and so you can see the most of his damage I can get on the screen. Probably the first 3, because the last one we got here is when I fought 5 battles. That's why it's into the 30s. Anyways, so let's look at this. Obviously, if you're looking at the first 3 battles, he does beat Munstein at 2 of them. And then obviously in the final battle that counted in the tournament, Munstein beat him by a little under 200. This is my problem with Patton. The setup of this, the tournament I did, greatly favored Patton and this perk. Because when we attacked in Italy, there was a couple units left behind that we didn't attack because we were only going for 10 attacks. there was definitely some bros left over in Germany when we got our 9 attacks in. And so I think it kind of artificially favored Patton over other bros in a manner that is not going to be normal in most of your gameplay, whether it be events or conquests or other missions. You're just not going to be able to pull him up in 10 people, knock out that first 5, and still be getting some of this, right? Because there's just more units in behind that, in behind that, in behind that. Munstein is just a more reliable general. He's just like Guderian, just absolutely reliable for that damage output. Doesn't need the 5 movement. Doesn't need so many units around him to get this maximum amount of damage. Bros, that is why a Munstein. Let me go ahead and hit it. You guys were so upset when I first did this and I had just listed them based on their first battle, and you were just in utter shock that Patton was out in head. Bros, it just always has to be a Munstein. When commanding elite force armored units, attack plus 18, critical damage plus a 35%, Panzer Leader, Blitzkrieg, some survivability, armored assault, got that inspiration, got that inferior victory. Munstein retains his title as the #1 most badass, reliable, sensible, dependable tank general in World Conqueror 4. Bros, let me know in the comments what you think of these rankings. I know some of you have already said you thought Guderian should actually be in front of Patton, but I do think Patton is going to find that sweet spot enough with this heroic charge that I mean, I agree you could make the case. You could make the case for Guderian, who is a much more rock-solid damage outputter, more dependable and reliable. He should be ahead of Patton, but I just feel like he's going to hit it enough to be in front of Guderian, but he's never going to hit it enough to be in front of a Munstein on a reliable basis. Bros, if you're enjoying this content, you know what to do. Stop, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, make here for next upload. Peace.